This is Cornhub. Let's hope this video doesn't get unmonetized like the last time I had a sauce from Down to Ferment on the show. This is a elotes style kombucha hot sauce from Down to Ferment. Awesome, awesome dudes. Make all fermented hot sauces. They are some of the hardest sauces in the entire world to describe the flavors. Now, elote style sauces are like it was a trend that was happening in 2024. It's taken me a while to actually get to this bottle. I have not tried this yet. The sauce has actually been out for a second. I've always loved their sauces, but like, man, fermented sauces are so complex and crazy. There's so many things happening and I don't understand them. And then I get frustrated, but I do my best. So let's dive into this sauce. I'm hoping I can explain it a little bit better, because what I was trying to say there, one of my little rant, was that elote style sauces were a trend in 2024. They're very popular, and it is a familiar flavor profile. And I'm thinking that I'm going to be able to describe these better. So, we will see. Don't get caught with your pants down. Grab a hold of your bottle and experience the flavors of the classic Tijuana/San Diego street food. Elote. Enjoy this rich, creamy sauce on Mexican grilled meat and veggies, breakfast, or baked potatoes. They're saying this is freaking hot. So this is a 3.5 out of 5 on their heat scale. Good Lord, we got some heat going in here. This one's gonna pack a punch. The ingredients in this are going to be, there is a kombucha culture that's in here. There is roasted corn. There's habanero peppers, lime juice, ají, amarillo pepper, agave nectar, avocado oil, salt, garlic, nutritional yeast, dried chilies, which are, thank you for labeling them or for putting them out there what they are. They are morita, guajillo, and fresno. And then there is cumin and cilantro. Look at that. Shout out. Look at that. Dried chilies, in parentheses, putting the chili peppers that are in the sauce. Makes me so happy. I was about to go ahead and get my whiteboard again. It's a pretty looking sauce. I don't know what the orange things that are floating in it are. The peppers? They're the ají amarillo floating in there. Okay, let's try it. That smells delicious and crazy and wild. I smell corn, believe it or not. It doesn't smell like overly, like a lot of fermentation kind of happening. Like there's not that like complex funkiness in a good way kind of thing going on. I smell a lot of corn. I kind of smell like the emulsion that I always talk about when there's oil in sauces. Like I'm smelling that, like, I don't know what that, it's so hard. There needs to be a name for that. A little bit of the fermenty funkiness. How hot are you going to be? I don't think it's going to be too crazy hot. They're saying 3.5, even though they make one of the hottest sauces I've ever had. But, okay. Let's taste this and see how it is. That is so good. Mild. There is... Something is sneaking up on me. It's not that hot. This is so good. I gotta taste this again. There is a wildness. Something went down the wrong pipe. I'm not coughing because of heat. Wild complexity to this sauce. How do you do this? Oh my gosh. It's so hard to explain. I'm getting this like roasted corn, creaminess, spiciness. The texture of the sauce is fantastic. There is a like underlying complexity to this sauce that I'm having such a hard trouble with. I'm frustrated. I'll be right back. I am the absolute worst person in the world when it comes to understanding how fermentation and fermented hot sauces work. I cannot talk about them. I cannot figure out how to explain flavor profiles. It is the hardest thing in the entire world for me to explain, but this guy right here can show you exactly how to do it. I need you to help me, sir. Can you please do that?
Fine. All right. So fermentation is basically just controlled spoilage.
Sounds delicious. This is the most delicious smelling room. Spoiler, I've already been in this room and we've already talked a little bit, but it smells so good in here.
So this is where we ferment all of our peppers. All these barrels you see here is peppers currently fermenting.
How does the physical fermentation process begin? Like how do you make it go?
So the beautiful part about fermentation is it's actually stupid easy. Anybody can do it.
Okay.
Basically what happens is you're just either chopping or mashing vegetables up,
okay,
and then letting them sit and letting the microbacteria, the good probiotic bacteria, we call it lactobacillus in the fermentation realm, and there's different bacterias that do different things.
Are you adding those to them, or they're just doing their things?
They're just doing their things. That's
so it's like it's just what exists in this room,
so
basically?
You got lactobacillus all over you right now. We can
Gotcha.
technically ferment you.
Yeah.
We got a barrel open for you. But basically, we let the microbacteria that's naturally on the product do their thing. We wash our produce and stuff like that, but we don't sanitize the produce because we don't want to sanitize that microbacteria off of them. The best way to do fermentation is to increase surface area. So
Okay.
think about a whole pepper.
Yeah.
A whole pepper can't, like a bell pepper.
Yeah.
A whole pepper doesn't ferment very well because you don't have the surface area. You want to be able to have the microbacteria kind of get to all of it at the same time. So when you mash it down, you're increasing the surface area with which they can readily available sugars.
So how are you physically doing that? Just basically blending all of those products up?
So
okay.
we blitz them. We have a big machine that blitzes them down. We've used an immersion blender in the past. We basically have a Roboku, a giant food processor on crack.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
And it just blitzes the crap out of them. And then you salt it down. So the salt portion of fermentation is to protect the batch from bad microbacteria.
Okay.
What salt does, so what lactobacillus is, it's a salt tolerant organism.
Okay.
But even too much salt can kill it, so you want to be within a specific range.
All right.
So because it's salt tolerant, you salt the batch down. That way, it protects from the bad bacteria taking over. Because all fermentation is a competition for resources. The salt tilts the scale of the battle into the lactobacillus' favor, so that they can eat all the sugars, the readily available sugars, and then they just basically poop out acid, lactic acid.
Yep.
Yeast ferments sugars into alcohol. Lactobacillus doesn't ferment sugars into alcohol. They ferment sugars into lactic acid.
And where does that lactic acid go?
In the batch.
It just stays.
That's what makes it, that's what brings down the pH.
Exactly, so you don't need to be using vinegar in the sauces
Correct.
because of that.
Correct.
Gotcha, it's making sense now.
There you go.
When you cook the sauce, that stops the fermentation process.
Correct. Vinegar, which is an acetic acid, also helps stop fermentation
Yep.
because it's another competing microbacteria that is going into it, and it kind of inhibits fermentation. Doesn't fully stop it, but it helps inhibit it.
Okay.
The only thing that really truly kills fermentation is cooking it.
Is cooking it.
Killing the bacteria.
Gotcha, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
You've got fermented peppers, the base of the sauce. You combine this with the kombucha and then any of the post-fermentation ingredients to make the final sauces.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing about it is kombucha is also, because I get this question all the time. They're like, isn't kombucha just the same as vinegar? And the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Kombucha and vinegar are made in completely separate ways. So kombucha is an acetic acid, but it's an acetic acid that eats the sugars and makes the acetic acid.
Okay.
With vinegar, you're using Acetobacter, and what you have to do to make a proper vinegar first, and in order to call it a vinegar, you have to make a wine or an alcohol component first. The Acetobacter eats the alcohol and produces the acetic acid.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing about it is we're not using any alcohol in here. With the kombucha, it's more of a wild ferment, very similar to wild saison or something like that.
So that's why they're open on top.
Correct. We do have airlocks in there to protect from like flies and stuff getting in there, but there's no water in it.
Okay.
Because there's two separate types of ferments that we're doing right now. The lactobacillus ferment is an anaerobic ferment, which means zero oxygen.
Okay.
And lacto thrive in that environment, but so does botulism. So that's why we have to make sure that we ferment these properly.
Botulism is bad.
Botulism is so bad.
You don't want botulism.
These were made a week apart, and
Okay.
if you taste them, you'll taste the difference.
I bet.
This one's more of a higher sugar content because we're waiting for it to go down, because we're waiting for the wild. So it's called a SCOBY, right? Do you know what SCOBY stands for?
No, I don't.
Okay, so SCOBY is symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast.
Clearly.
A lot of people think that the SCOBY is what floats on top. That's actually not true. What floats on top is actually called the palisol, the raft, and that is cellulose.
I know so little about this. It is insane, and I'm so happy to be learning this right now.
So the SCOBY itself is actually the liquid.
Okay.
Because that's where all the good stuff is. That's where all the probiotics. The raft that it sits on that sits on top of it acts as a protectorate.
Where do you even start when you're trying to make a new sauce, when you're talking about flavor profiles? Because like you're going to be fermenting out a lot of these sugars. It's completely changing.
Exactly.
You've got like 3 parts that you're dealing with. You're dealing with your kombuchas, you're dealing with your fermentation, and you're dealing with whatever you're putting in post. So you have like, it's like you're making 3 separate things, and 2 of them you don't even know what's happening, kind of.
But that's the funny thing about the fermentation and trying to keep consistency throughout our sauces.
Oh, that too. Consistency must be a nightmare.
It can be at times. We can only control what we can control. Sometimes the peppers we get in don't have the same sugar content as the last batch, so
absolutely
the pH fluctuates a little bit. All sauce makers go through the same thing of like some batches of peppers that they get in are hotter or milder.
Or like bell peppers, some of them have lots of water in them, some of them have nothing, and like very little. So
exactly.
does that come into play?
As far as the consistency of it, gotten our consistency point locked down. Think of the kombucha as a softening agent. If you've ever had, and I'll give you something because I've had a thing of bell peppers and something going for like 2 years.
Oh my God.
And there's nothing added to it. It's just salted like bell peppers and with a little bit of spices and stuff.
Can we taste that?
Oh, 100% we can.
I would love to taste that.
And it's harsh. It's harsh on the palate and
Okay.
stuff like that. But there's such a deep complexity to it too. But it can be incredibly harsh on the palate. So what the kombucha does is it softens that harshness of the lactic acid and makes it more palatable. And then we have like with our smoking hot date, one of our best-selling sauces. We add the natural sugars back in with the dates, and it kind of smooths it out. Because as you know, I've been in the cooking industry for a very long time now, and my biggest focus is what's it going to taste like? How is it going to hit your palate? How is it going to complement your food and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
So you have to have that balance. All chefs, when they're creating food, are looking for the balance of acid, sweet, salty, you know, all those different flavor profiles to balance everything out. The only thing I can't do with the sauce is, well, I can do with the sauce and how we blend it is the texture portion of it. You know, but when you're creating a dish, you want to have like a crunchy element, you want to have a kind of a soft element, you want to have those different textures in your mouth that like kind of wake up all these different aspects of your brain. So it's the same thing with flavors.
Gotcha.
So the kombucha is just a really good way to soften the flavors of the fermented peppers.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Wow, I'm learning so much. I love it.
Woo! What a journey! I feel like I know more now. I feel like I'm more prepared. It's been a solid couple days since I've tasted this sauce now, though, so let's give myself a bit of a refresher on this. It is just so freaking delicious. It's much more mild in heat. I'm glad I have this like better understanding of how fermentation is working and how it kind of reacts to the different ingredients and the way that you use it in hot sauce. I'm so intrigued by how this all goes down because you can change the flavor of the ingredients and make this like more complex than just what is happening in there. So much technique, and it's such a cool thing. I'm so excited and happy. This sauce is delicious. It is much more mild than I feel like they're saying. So they're calling this a 3.5 out of 5. They have sauces that are very, very hot. This is like, I mean, I'm not going to call it a 1, but I'm going to call it like the very bottom of a 2 on my heat scale. I think it's definitely, to me, a pretty mild sauce. So for me, I mean, I don't really know what they're potentially like, how they're doing their heat scales, but see, I mean, I guess they're going at medium hot. Sure, it's medium. I would take the hot off. It's medium. It's a medium sauce for most people. For me, it's pretty mild, but that's just because I eat like a ton of hot sauce. I'm never trying to say that my tolerance is wildly high, because my tolerance is not that wildly high. But I eat a lot of hot sauce, and to me, this is a solid medium. It's a beautiful sauce. This is definitely one of my favorite sauces from Down to Ferment. I think this is probably my favorite elote style hot sauce that I have had to date. I really enjoy this style because a lot of times elotes is made with mayonnaise, and I do not like mayonnaise, as you know. And what they're doing here is they're using the avocado oil and the nutritional yeast to and a lot of the fermentation to replicate that creaminess and that flavor profile in a way, in their own funky, down to ferment way. And I think it's a gigantic success, in my opinion. And I think that this is absolutely somewhere between the, like, you must try this sauce and you must absolutely buy this sauce. I think this is a fantastic sauce. So, that being said, I will put a link to Down to Ferment so you can check out some of their awesome sauces. Their freaking mustard harissa is so good. I can't remember what anniversary it is, but it is one of the best freaking hot mustard style sauces. It's very mild, but man, is it good. Anyways, I love you guys. We'll see you guys on the next.
Hey, this is Brian Ames. Please click the subscribe button that you see right there, and you'll subscribe to my videos. From now on, I'm going to be eating a lot of peppers. Oh man, it's going to be great. Bye.